All right, the President of the United States announced to the world this morning via Twitter that the nuclear threat from North Korea is over. It's not. President Trump made this announcement once back on U.S. soil this morning via Twitter. You can see it there on your screen. It was one of several tweets celebrating his summit with North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un. The document signed by the president and Kim Jong Un reaffirms efforts to denuclearize the peninsula, but gives no specifics and lays out no timelines for efforts to even begin, never mind when they are going to conclude. The president says North Korea is no longer a nuclear threat. But for fact's sake, I want to look at the status of Kim Jong Un's nuclear arsenal and what it would take to truly denuclearize it so that there is no threat. Analysis by the Defense Intelligence Agency puts the number of nuclear weapons held by North Korea in the neighborhood of 60 bombs. But the biggest point, we don't know the full extent of Kim Jong Un's nuclear stockpile, and there were no public disclosures of that number at the summit. Remember the Iran deal. I just want to remind you about something of the Iran deal. Iran never had a nuclear weapon, not even one. North Korea actually has them. The bombs are a serious threat when coupled with North Korea's advances in rocket technology. The latest missile is now believed to even put Washington, D.C. within range. So what's the path to denuclearization? Well, for the United States, it's based on a concept known as CVID, complete, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization of North Korea. That would require the regime to, first of all, reveal all of its nuclear programs, allow weapons inspectors in, give them access to the whole country, and disable all of the nuclear sites permanently, denying North Korea any nuclear potential. None of that's in the agreement. Just a pledge to work toward denuclearization. That's not bad, but that's not a nuclear threat being over. There are no steps laid out, no conditions, not even an outline have been put forward in this proposal. According to experts at Stanford University, denuclearization could take up to 15 years to complete, meaning that North Korea could restart its program at any time during that 15 years. So I just want to put that into perspective. Donald Trump sent out a tweet this morning that is verifiably not true. Joining me now is the executive director of the Terror Asymmetrics Project, retired U.S. Navy veteran Malcolm Nance, and senior research associate at the East Asia Nonproliferation Program, Melissa Hanham. Thanks to both of you for being here. Malcolm, let me start with you. It's just dangerous and bad for the president to send out a tweet that suggests that perhaps the most important global security issue in the world is somehow settled because he had a little meeting with Kim Jong Un.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The weapon systems which belong to North Korea, they're intercontinental ballistic missiles, intermediate range ballistic missiles, theater, battlefield level ballistic missiles, which have a loftable nuclear warhead, which we now know works. Those weapon systems work. They have detonated the requisite 5 test atomic bombs that most nations test with. They don't need to test them anymore. Those weapons still exist this morning. They were not taken off of line. We don't know who has operational control of those other than the fact that they have a supreme leader, Kim Jong Un. But that doesn't mean that someone may not take control of them and launch them. These things are viable operational weapons, and we cannot joke about it. We cannot just blithely say they don't exist anymore, because they do.
Melissa, we have been talking about the CVID process, complete verification, and the processes you have to go through. Mike Pompeo actually said the other day that that's the basic condition under which we would accept a deal with North Korea. Have you seen anything about that come out in the last few days as a result of this meeting, this complete, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization?
No, there's been nothing like that written into the actual document that's been shared with the public in either English or Korean. In fact, what they seem to have done is taken North Korea's definition, denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, and mashed it together with the American call for complete, irreversible, verifiable dismantlement. And by just sort of vaguely coming up with two terms that neither group fully agree on is kind of risky territory to be in, because it's very easy to create the kind of misunderstandings that may lead to a failure soon.
Malcolm, it strikes me that the president had a lot of things about this meeting that he could crow about, that were groundbreaking and that were interesting. And for better or for worse, and for lots of reasons we've heard from members of the Bush administration and the Obama administration, this sort of meeting didn't take place. To set that out there and say, hey, we're on a road to going down towards something that could be good and making the world a safer place would have been a good idea. But once again, it's an unforced error. The president is now causing us to fact check him and let the world know that something may have happened at that meeting in Singapore, but this CVID that Mike Pompeo and the administration put out as a goal is not the thing.
That's absolutely correct. What we have here is a first start. I won't fault any leader for going out and trying to create a circumstance where we have world peace. That's awesome. But what we can't do is we just can't do it blindly. We can't do it for a photo op. We have to absolutely make sure that there is a system and structure in place. This nation, North Korea, is a dictatorship. It is a totalitarian, one-man-ruled nation that can hide anything. They are masters of digging tunnels. They have the ability to hide, and of course, as we've seen in the past, pretend like they are destroying facilities, like their plutonium reactor, which they did a few years back. But they have also mastered masking everything that they do. If there is not an international regime that will do this, look, they really don't have to disarm at all. They have viable strategic atomic weapons, and that's all they needed to get the President of the United States to eat out of their hands.
Melissa, is this good or bad that we are now in this dialogue? Because a couple of days ago, we were watching pictures of Kim Jong Un touring Singapore, announcing meetings with the leader, with the foreign minister of Russia. We know he's taking a meeting with Bashar Assad. And Bill Neely, our chief global correspondent, was saying, to some degree, we have helped remove Kim Jong Un from international isolation. Good or bad?
Well, so I think having low-level, medium-level, and high-level diplomatic negotiations with North Korea is always a good idea. The reason previous presidents haven't actually gone and done the spectacle of shaking hands with Kim Jong Un is because he's the exact reprehensible person that Malcolm has already described. Rather, we've put him up on a pedestal now as a legitimate leader in the world who is beloved, and all those photos ended up on North Korean propaganda the next day. And so really Kim Jong Un, without promising anything short of working towards a very vague goal that is not in any way defined, has come back with a huge domestic win for himself. Because he's already told his people that he's satisfied with his nuclear program and he's satisfied with the missiles they have. And really all he has to do now is focus on the economics. So the more legitimate he looks means the more he's going to be able to bring foreign investment, lower sanctions enforcement, and bring that second goal to his people. And last but definitely not least, this sets up a precedent to all those states that may be thinking that they may want to have nuclear weapons someday. Right. North Korea is now the precedent that if you're a two-bit dictator, you too can sit on stage with with Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, the President of the United States, yeah. And Malcolm, is there something to be said for the fact that Kim Jong Un didn't seem to give up anything, but we, the president, and there was some back and forth about what exactly we're giving up, but has talked about suspending these military exercises that take place?
Well, we have given something up, and it is a strategic loss for the United States. I don't know how any president of the United States can say that U.S. military exercises are, what to use the parlance of a dictator, war games, and that they're costly and expensive and provocative. Provocative is the word that North Korean propaganda has been using for decades to define U.S. exercises down there. It is critical for the defense of the peninsula, for the defense of Asia, and for U.S. strategic posture worldwide to train. And Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand that when a B-1 Lancer bomber flies from Guam 6.5 hours, takes up a stationary position off of there, goes to South Korea, does a simulated bombing run or a real live weapons bombing run and drops them and goes back, that maintains the operational readiness of the U.S. forces to fight a war.
Right.
And if he believes now, because he has gone there, we can just get rid of that, I don't believe it. I think he gave it up just to get this photo op for Kim Jong Un, and now he's trying to justify it to his base why the U.S. military should either withdraw from the Korean Peninsula or should stop these exercises.
And again,
it's a great loss.
That, again, is also unclear now that Mike Pompeo is there and seems to be trying to do some damage control, or we'll have to see what this all ends up being. Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.